Hi guys, thanks for tuning into the channel today. I'm on the outskirts of Bathurst in central New South Wales, Australia. I'm on my way to the bridle track. Now how did this happen? Well, it's 1:30 in the afternoon and around about 12:30 today I painted the last clear coat on the X-Max 300 panels, which I'm respraying from its original colour to a blue. And all of a sudden I thought to myself, I've got a bit of time to spare now, I've got nothing better to do. I'm going to get on that 350 out there, which was already filled up, and I'll point it down towards Bathurst and head it out the bridle track and just see what it's like to ride it. And 350 Classic is my favourite bike to ride, so you know, as far as that goes, it's a good day for it. It's up around, I don't know, I think around 15, 17 degrees, something to that effect. I did notice when I was coming down this first part on the way to the bridle track, this is a really narrow, winding road. You have to be sort of a bit careful, or you could find yourself, if you did anything silly, splattered up against those guide rails to the left, or worse still, you could end up in Bathurst Hospital if you swung around these too wide and the car collected you going the other way. So, you know, you've got to be a little bit careful when you travel along this road. Use a bit of common sense, because you only get, in those cases, zero chance on a motorbike if something goes wrong. So apart from that, and this was a really good bend too when I swept around this one here. And I'm not going very fast, 40 kilometres an hour, something to that effect, maybe 50. So not that far at all, but you know what, I want to make sure when I get Classic to where I want to go, and more importantly get back up along this track. So apart from that, we'll go on a little bit further and I'll swing up to where last time I was down there 2 years ago they were doing bridge work. Yeah, so I'm about 10 minutes into the ride at this stage. I've noticed this is not a bad road to ride on. Like I said, a little bit narrow, a few potholes about, but the council has been a bit busy in some areas and they've sort of done patchwork on them. So we're swinging up close to this bridge I was at 2 years ago, and when I was here 2 years back, the way into the bridge was, well, this new bridge wasn't actually built. They were still in the process of putting it across, and onto your left now you went down through that area back in across the creek area on a low level one and across that way. So this is not a bad one now. 40k speed limit they've got into this. I don't know if they ever worried about enforcing it, but the fact is it's there. As it is now, I'm going to, after I swing around this left hander, I'm climbing up this hill, so I might just let you listen to the exhaust where I'm sort of giving it a little bit of a run through here, and we'll see what happens from there, see if you like that idea. Okay guys, I'm just going to do a voiceover here to go along, talk about a few different things, and I'll talk about highlights and stuff. But back there, that was a nice run of twisties along there, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I've just went over this ramp here, and I'm just going to swing over here now where it shows a shot of the bridle track. And I thought, you know, there's a photographic one there too, so we might as well make the most of that. So I parked the Classic 350 ReBorn up against that one, and we get over here, take a quick shot, and that's with the new Olympus I think it's TG6.
Okay guys, we're on
So
the start of the
up
bridle
and that,
track.
we're back on the bike
Let's
again,
ride.
and we're heading back onto the real part of the start of the track there now. And what I noticed first off is, you know, it's not sort of a surface I'm used to riding on, because where I am around, like almost 100 kilometres away, it's a more rocky type road, where I found the surface on this one to be, it's got a bit of rain drain running through it, and it's got a bit of rock on it, but it's also got a lot of powdery, creamy coloured dust on it, where I ride mainly, I don't get the dust side of it. And I did notice the bike was floating around a bit at times through corners or areas where it's sitting there, and you can see coming up through here there's a fair bit of gravel on it. It gets worse as you go along, and you know, with stock tyres on it, I reckon you could you know, like get yourself a handful if you get out there going fairly silly along there on a, you know, road bike with stock tyres, and the next minute, you know, you could have a bit of drama. But apart from that, you know, if any errors occur while I'm doing this voiceover, don't really worry me that much. You know, like these clips, what have been putting together the last 10 or something, have only averaged something like 600 views per clip. And, you know, like from my point of view, where, you know, you might say, well, if you correct things up a little bit better or something, it might go better. No, it'll never go any better. Like, I've put up 500 clips, I've sunk about $100,000 into the channel, and virtually the channel is a lemon anyway. So the bikes are good, but the channel does not perform as good as what it should, or they're talking away. And I think the reason being is, like, I have this habit of people ask me questions and I'll give them a truthful answer. Now, why I give them a truthful answer is, compared to the other blokes on YouTube, will tell you all sorts of crap. Over the past 10 years, I've got a new bike coming next 2 weeks' time. So over the past 10 years, I've gone through 65 new bikes. So I'll continuously have people get up there and say to me, oh, I'm going to buy this bike. Say, for example, the other day I got one. Somebody wanted to know, I think it was a Honda 350i scooter, and he was deciding between that and the Forza 350. Well, the first one I never had, but the Forza 350, I had one of those, and I just replied to him, if I was you, I'd buy the X-Max 300. So after that, never heard from him again, and this is how it goes all the time, you know, like, the smart idea is don't talk to anyone that's had a lot of bikes, because they'll give you the opinion you probably don't want to hear. So I just pull up there at a place there, did a quick photo, so we'll get back to this one, and I'm riding back around here, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm in uncharted territory along here, and I'm going along, and I thought, well, it really is a beautiful day today. Like, you got sort of storm clouds there in the background. It's heading towards late in the afternoon now, and I know I'm on borrowed time as far as to get down, do this trip or not. So we pull up at another spot just here, and this little, I don't know, 50 metres of bitumen, and this lets you know that the bridle track is the left. I don't know whether that one goes to the right, it might go to the private property, but I'm thinking of swinging back in here in about 2 or 3 weeks' time when the Suzuki V-Strom 250SX arrives, and ride it along here so I can compare it to the Enfield. Now, apart from that, I noticed, if you said, well, what did I think about the riding on this track, like in total? Well, in some ways it's not much different to riding around where I live. I mean, I can get this sort of road conditions within 50 kilometres rather than ride 100. But the thing is, over a period of X amount of years, I've always, or especially the last 3, I've always wanted to ride this bridle track to get to the area where the cliffs are. But as far as I know now, and I've been told, this road now stops at that section, and they divided it off or cut it off and then built a new one through. So there's not much you can do about that now. And the idea was, I was thinking, well, over the years I've lived in this area 70 years in total. But I tell you one thing, this part here was a really rough section, and I'm not going really fast through here because it had a lot of loose stuff on it, especially down towards the bottom. And then I get to this part here, and if you have a look at this grid, I stop here, and I'm undecided which way to go on it, because when you get looking at the second bar's missing, see that second bar as I go over? Now, if you swung your wheel or something went wrong and the wheel twisted when it went through there and went down that one, you'd be wearing this dirt up ahead. So, you know, like, I don't know why they've been able to get away with it without replacing that bar, because it looks really, really dangerous. Now, here I am running along, and on my left-hand side now is the Macquarie River. Now, if you ask me what part of this trip I enjoyed the most, I didn't mind this part along here because I didn't see anyone when I was riding along, and that was one good thing. And you know, I think I only had, that was the only bridge. I think I went over the little one just there, but apart from that, I come up to this spot here, and I think, oh geez, what a beautiful place to knock over a photo. So once again, I just pull over here, get off the bike. You can just leave it there. There was no traffic on the road. Take this nice shot, and just shows the classic 350 ReBorn, and then head off back down the road here. And I've got the road to myself really. So as I was looking down there, I get up a little bit further and I stop, and then I tilt the camera over to the left a bit to give you a better look that way, so we're not on the same angle all the time. But the water is virtually crystal clear. It's not flowing all that fast, and you're sort of a little bit higher up in the road looking down into the river, and it gives you a feeling of sort of, you know, just a great place to be riding around on a day like this. And you know, on the left-hand side now, we're going past one of the reserves. These are the reserves you can camp. I don't know if they'll let you use, they might let you use a fire there, I'm not sure now, but you can camp overnight at any of these. They've got about, along this part where I come along there, 2 or 3 designated spots. But I think the highlight for me was just riding along this section here, running along by the river, because there's no area around where I live where I can run this close to a river and virtually have the road to myself. You know, like as far as things go, there are a couple of ones run like this around here on bitumen road, but bitumen roads always have traffic. But if you get on these dirt ones here and go along, and this would go, I don't know, 2 or 3 kilometres, something like that, so there'd be 2 miles in the old scale. It was fairly interesting just there riding along, and I don't know, they may have graded this since, you know, in the last few months, I'm not sure, but there were a few potholes in there, and every now and again you'd feel the bike hit it and jar at the front. But the classic 300 up front hasn't got you what we call powerhouse suspension, so the suspension's all right, but it's not perfect. It'll serve its purpose. Once again, ride the conditions, and I'm running 500 shocks at the back. Now, while we're talking about this sort of stuff, I might just mention to you about the classic 350 ReBorn. Yeah, so just in case you think Warro's give it a can't take it when it comes to buying these bikes on them and stuff like that. It's not the case, because on my last clip I even tell you about a MGF I bought 14 years ago, which I paid quite a bit of money for, 25,000, spent 5,000 on it. Still a heap of crap, not much you can do about it. Wife likes it, daughter did like it. Me, well, I ever thought I've driven a lot of sports cars over the years, and I'd class it as one of the worst, but that's how it goes, and not much you can do about that. So that's only my personal opinion on things. When you look at the bikes, you know, like a smart idea when you get on these channels, don't ask any of the blokes who create channels what they think about them, because most of them are biased towards their stuff. But out of, like I said earlier, almost 65 new bikes I've bought, if I had to pick them, geez, I tell you what, there's been some crap in amongst them. But one thing I will say, apart from the crap, is these new classic 350 ReBorns, and we'll get onto that now, I would have to say, out of all the bikes I've had, these would be one of the most reliable bikes for an Indian bike you could buy on the market today, because they are really, really a good bike. There's no risk about it. I had 20 Enfields, I know what they're like. 650 Interceptors, really, really good bikes. Himalayan's all right too. Classic 500, not much of a bike at all. I'll let you tell you that one again. Classic 500, not much of a bike at all. Had 15 of them brand new, 13 of them were 500s, 2 of them were 350s. Had nothing but trouble, breakdowns. I would never bring a classic 500 along here, because I'd have to have the toolkit out now. I'd have to be tightening the bloody thing up. It'd be shaking to pieces. I'd be wondering if my battery leads would break, my regulator would break in the lead section there. Whether I'd have to pull up along here and tighten everything up. You know, I don't care what people think, they're lemons, that's all there are to it. They were all right in their time, and you say, well, why'd you buy so many if you had 15 of them? I always bought them every year. They come out hoping they'd get better, but in the end, they started in 2009, went 2020, they were no better in the end than what they started off with. They were just problems all the way through. Now, I don't know, people find it hard to get in their brain box that the 350 is a better bike than the 500, but It naturally is. It's a cleaner motor. Like, there's no rubbish in the motor when you're doing oil changes and stuff like that. You can go out, press that button, and go any time you want to. Like, it's just so reliable. If this was a heap of crap, this classic 500, I wouldn't bring it into places like this or Long Point and places right around there. But not once so far in 7.5, pushing 8,000 kilometres, has it given me any reason to think to myself, oh, I don't trust this bike at all, I'm not taking it anywhere. But honestly, when I had the 500s, if I went to a place that was a little bit remote or I went on a long ride, there'd be places I'd never had the guts to turn the motor off for fear that it wouldn't bloody start. That's how reliable it was. And not just one of them. Take into account too, they're all brand new bikes. I never buy second-hand bikes. Always buy new stuff. I don't like them. Tell people what I don't like about them. Piss them off and buy another one. So, you either take it or leave it. So that's the story, what I'm telling you at the moment. If you're on the market for one of these classic 350s, go ahead and buy one, because there's just nothing around in that price category. It'll beat it. And you say, well, what about that new AJS? I don't even like the look of those, and I don't even like the Media 650. So if I don't like them, I won't buy them. I won't just buy them. I made mistakes in the early days of the channel buying bikes just to please people, and it fell on my arse. So now that little causeway we just passed looks very familiar to how the old road looked in that area there where I've seen them go across in their bikes. And now I'm up in this section here. I don't know, it could be wrong, but this looks like the part where they've put in the new road here. The Bathurst Council has graded and put in, whoever put in the new road. Now, I suppose it's all right. It's a pretty steep climb up here, and I come around one of these bends here, and the back wheel picks up a rock and throws the bike off course. Somewhere up along here, not sure exactly where, but somewhere up along here. But I just get the impression below me now is where that really good road, Scenic road, was. Now, I swing up along here, and I was going to pull up there, but the bike was sort of rolling a little bit, so I come back up into a little bit of flatter section, and I thought I might get off and take a photo. Now there's how far I've climbed, and I reckon this is where they've pushed the rubble down onto the old road. Now there's another look at the view of the river. That looks pretty good, and that gives you an idea of the grade where I came up. And once again, they're all out of the way, and we are back on the bike, and we're going to carry on up this hill. But I don't know, I just got this feeling, I could be wrong, because I don't know, I've never been on this part of the road before, that this is where they cut it through the hill and bypass the old, I don't know, 150-year-old track or whatever it was. I think what they've got up here, they've got the bulldozers, and because there was a landslide on that section of the track and was deemed unsafe, I think they've come up here and built this road through to bypass it, so the road still goes to, I don't know, Hill End, I think, and they've bulldozed the area or rocks off the side of the hill down onto the track so nobody can get access to it anymore or go along it. But what I'm thinking of doing, I'm going to come back to this place on the Suzuki V-Strom when I get it, park the bike there somewhere, and one thing after waiting 70 years to do a trip like this and finally get into it, even if I've got to walk up that old track and get the drone shot I want, I'm going to come back and then go for a walk there, park the bike somewhere, and with a bit of luck it should be there when I get back, and if it isn't, who cares, one way to look at it. But the fact is, I'm going to come back especially to walk up that track. As I was on my way back home in the trip, and I'm not showing it on this, I did actually see remnants of the track, and I know where I can park and go for the walk. So as far as that goes, I was going to pull up there to get a shot, but there was no shot there, so I go up a little bit higher, and when I get up to this high section up a little bit further, I get the drone out and I do a flyover where I am with the drone, and apart from that, I was running out of time by this stage, and like I said, I'm 100 kilometres from home, and I have to get all through those areas here, and it was starting to get cold, and I had a jacket on, but I only had a t-shirt underneath, and I thought it was a bit cool on the way down, so if I don't get my tail into gear and get home, I can always come back and explore this later, and the bike I'll come back and explore, and it'll be on that Suzuki 250 SX V-Strom, and see if it's any good or not. So, I'll be able to get an idea. I'd expect it'll run along this road a lot better than the Enfield, but the thing about I like about the Enfield, you're riding along that bike, on a classic looking bike, it looks 50-year-old, and I don't know, it just makes you feel good when you're riding this particular bike, or that's what I think. Now here's the top here looking down, and when you look down into this gully here, that's why I reckon that old road's sitting below, and I might be able to get down there. But then again, I don't know. I might get back there and I might have a long walk to where it is, or it might even be up further. So the best thing about this adventure is not over for me, and I get the chance to get out and give it another workout and try it again. But overall, you know, my riding experience on this road was interesting. You know, I would say, you know, I sort of enjoyed it. Twisties at the start were all right. A few of the bends there. I didn't like the fact that, you know, some of those potholes were not filled to really good with gravel, and there was a lot of loose gravel sitting over areas they'd sealed. So you had to be careful when you come around some of the corners, and then all of a sudden you'd see a 15-metre stretch of seal surface with a lot of gravel on it. And, you know, you had to throw a bit of caution when you come around and run into it like that. But apart from that, you know, like, I think I was honest, like, I was sort of a bit of a letdown. The fact is that the thrill of riding a road that was 150-year-old or something like that, or that track, is gone. The other part of the road there, but the one I really wanted to do, was where you ride up along the side of the cutting and the cliffs, and then you look down to the valley. But, you know, that was the opportunity that missed by me. I could have done 3 years ago, never got off my tail and got into it and had a go. Always said I was going to do it, you know, in those days where I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Well, in most cases I always do what I'm supposed to be doing, but I failed on this idea on that bridle track and to ride that track itself. And like I said, when I on the return journey, I take this bike down into a little bit of a track that runs along the river, but when I get there, there's no way, it wouldn't matter who you are or how good a ride you are or what you got, there's no way you'll ride a bike up the side of that hill to get to the track. You might get it if you had a four-wheel drive winch and hold on to your bike and pull it up to the hill to get onto the track that way. But the council's been very smart and by grading or bringing the graders in and dumping those rocks over the side and totally blocking the track in a really steep section where it would take some work to get in. But if that is a spot, you know, like somebody that knows the road better than me, like I'm not an expert on this road, first time on it, if it is a spot, they can always get there and say, yeah, Warro, if you go back to that spot, park at the bottom and work your way through the scrub and get up on that, you can walk that track. I'm going to go back and walk it regardless. If I'm in the wrong spot and there's a mistake here and it's up further, well, good luck for me and I can go back and have another hit. So once again, thanks for tuning in, taking a look. Some of the content you might like, some of you don't, doesn't matter. You're not here to give it up, thumbs up or sub, doesn't matter much anymore. So I'm only here to throw a video together of a place where if you enjoy motorcycles and like to ride them and know what I think, what's a nice classic ride and what places where you could go to and enjoy it. You know, I think it'd be impossible not to ride along this road for the first time and enjoy it. It's only over the years, if you'd already heard about the bridle track and stuff like that, and you live near, like under 100 kilometres from where you are, that you never got off your tail and got down there and rode it when you had the chance. And I've had the chance to do it over the last 10 years, so